क्वेश्चन नंबर 2A हम देख रहे हैं. मिसेज रोहिणी, एज 62 years, was born and brought up in New Delhi. She got married in Russia in 1996. 1996 में उसकी मैरिज हुई and settled there since then. और उसके बाद से वो वहीं सेटल हो गई. Since her marriage, she visits India for 60 days each year during her summer break. फिर उसकी मैरिज के बाद वो शी विजिट से इंडिया for 60 days each year during her summer break. The following are the details of her income for the previous year ending 31st of March 21. अब ये डिटेल्स दे रखी है उसकी. देखिए, पेंशन रिसीव फ्रॉम रशियन गवर्नमेंट, लॉन्ग टर्म गेन कैपिटल गेन ऑन सेल ऑफ लैंड दे रखा है, शॉर्ट टर्म कैपिटल गेन ऑन सेल ऑफ शेयर्स ऑफ इंडियन कंपनी लिस्टेड है, एसटीटी पेड है, प्रीमियम पेड टू रशियन लाइफ इंश्योरेंस कॉर्पोरेशन एट रशिया, and rent received equivalent to the annual value in respect of the house property. You are required to ascertain the residential status of Mrs. Rohini and compute her total income and tax liability. अब यहाँ रोहिणी क्या है? इंडियन सिटीजन है. अगर कोई इंडियन सिटीजन है और वो विजिट करता है इंडिया हर साल, तो 60 days she must be in India for a period of 60 days or more during the previous year and 365 days or more during 4 years preceding the previous year. तो ये 60 days का पीरियड क्या है? एक तरह से एक्सटेंड हो जाता है कितने दिन के लिए? 182 डेज के लिए. 182 डेज के लिए ये एक्सटेंड हो जाता है. तो ये एक तरह से क्या हो गया? सो शी डज नॉट सेटिस्फाई द बेसिक कंडीशन. वो क्या हो जाएगी? नॉन रेजिडेंट हो जाएगी. अदरवाइज अगर वो 120 दिन या उससे ज़्यादा है और 182 दिन से कम है और पिछले 4 सालों में 365 दिन से ज़्यादा होती है, तो भी वो रेजिडेंट बन सकती है अगर उसकी इंडियन इनकम किससे है? जो इनकम फ्रॉम अदर देन इनकम फ्रॉम फॉरेन सोर्सेज 15 लाख रुपए से क्या है? एक्सीड कर रही है, तो वो तो केस लगेगा ही नहीं. तो शी इज़ बेसिकली नॉन रेजिडेंट. ये क्या है? नॉन रेजिडेंट होगी क्योंकि ये यहाँ पे बेसिक कंडीशन नहीं सेटिस्फाई कर रही है. अब देखिए, जो पेंशन रिसीव फ्रॉम रशियन गवर्नमेंट, अगर एनआर होता है, अगर कोई नॉन रेजिडेंट होता है, तो उसको जो इनकम रिसीव हो रही है इंडिया में या डीम टू बी रिसीव्ड है, डीम टू बी रिसीव्ड इन इंडिया है, और जो इनकम उसको क्या हो रही है? एक्रू हो रही है. इनकम जो उसको एक्रू हो रही है और डीम्ड टू एक्रू और अराइज इन इंडिया, डीम्ड टू एक्रू और अराइज इन इंडिया is taxable. In case of non-resident, the income which is received or deemed to be received in India or income which accrue or rise or deemed to accrue or rise in India is taxable. So pension received from Russian government, it will not be taxable. The same will not be taxable. Now here, long-term capital gains on sale of land, it will be taxable. The same will be taxable because here the income is deemed to accrue or rise in India. ठीक है, तो ये टैक्सेबल हो रही है. रिसीव्ड या डीम टू बी रिसीव्ड, एक्रू और राइज और डीम टू एक्रू और राइज. फिर शेयर्स ऑफ इंडियन कंपनी जो कि यहाँ पे लोकेटेड है, इसलिए इनकम यहाँ पे टैक्सेबल होगी. लैंड यहाँ पे लोकेटेड है, इसलिए टैक्सेबल होगी. ठीक है, ये भी टैक्सेबल होंगे. प्रीमियम पेड टू रशियन लाइफ इंश्योरेंस कॉर्पोरेशन, द सेम विल बी एलिजिबल फॉर डिडक्शन अंडर सेक्शन व्हाट? 80C. 80C के लिए डिडक्शन एडमिसिबल होगा, पर वो 80C का डिडक्शन किस में से नहीं मिलता? इसमें से नहीं मिलता, लॉन्ग टर्म कैपिटल गेन्स में से नहीं मिलता और शॉर्ट टर्म कैपिटल गेन्स में से नहीं मिलता. और रेंट रिसीव्ड है, ये इनकम फ्रॉम हाउस प्रॉपर्टी होगी इसकी. ठीक है, 30% इसमें से डिडक्शन मिलेगा. तो देखिए, ये कह रहे हैं रेजिडेंशियल स्टेटस तो एनआर हो गया. टैक्स लायबिलिटी निकालते हैं अपन इसकी. इसकी क्या है? अपन टैक्स लायबिलिटी निकालते हैं. कंप्यूटेशन ऑफ total income and tax liability अब यहां पे देखिए, सबसे पहली बात, इनकम फ्रॉम हाउस प्रॉपर्टी, इनकम फ्रॉम हाउस प्रॉपर्टी इसकी हो गई रेंटल इनकम. रेंटल इनकम जो एनुअल वैल्यू है कितनी हो गई? 90,000 हो गई. ठीक है, लेस स्टेट्यूटरी डिडक्शन, आपको स्टेट्यूटरी डिडक्शन मिल जाएगा. स्टेट वेरिएट डिडक्शन 30% ऑफ NAV, 30% ऑफ NAV 27,000 का स्टेट वेरिएट डिडक्शन मिल गया। ये हो गया 63,000 रुपीज़, ये टैक्सेबल हो रही है। फिर कैपिटल गेन्स हो गए, पहला हो गया लॉन्ग टर्म कैपिटल गेन ऑन सेल ऑफ लैंड, ये आ गया अपने कितना आ रहा है 3 लाख रुपए कंप्यूटेड है। और शॉर्ट टर्म कैपिटल गेन ऑन सेल ऑफ इक्विटी शेयर, STT पेड, ये 111A में टैक्सेबल होगा और LTCG 112 में टैक्सेबल होगा। कितना है ये 60,000 रुपये, ठीक है 360 ये हो गया। फिर लेस डिडक्शन अंडर सेक्शन 80C, ये जो लाइफ इंश्योरेंस प्रीमियम जो इसने दिया है, लाइफ इंश्योरेंस प्रीमियम सब्जेक्ट टू मैक्सिमम ऑफ ₹63,000। क्यों 63,000? क्योंकि इन दोनों में से चैप्टर 6A के डिडक्शन नहीं मिलते, तो सिर्फ हाउस प्रॉपर्टी की इनकम रह गई जिस पे वो डिडक्शन ले सकते हैं 63,000, तो ये ले लिया। ये आ रही है 423 आ रही है टोटल, ठीक है। तो ये हो गई वापस से 360 आ गई है इसकी टोटल इनकम। अब अपने को क्या है, टैक्स लायबिलिटी निकालनी है। टैक्स लायबिलिटी ये है क्या, टैक्स लायबिलिटी निकालेंगे, ये है नॉन रेजिडेंट, ये है नॉन रेजिडेंट। अपने को ध्यान रखना है कि अगर कोई रेजिडेंट इंडिविजुअल होता और उसकी अगर अदर इनकम फॉल होती मैक्सिमम अमाउंट नॉट चार्जेबल टू टैक्स से, तो फिर क्या है लॉन्ग टर्म कैपिटल गेन्स या शॉर्ट टर्म कैपिटल गेन्स विल बी रिड्यूस बाय सच शॉर्टफॉल। चूँकि ये NR है इसलिए शॉर्टफॉल का बेनिफिट नहीं मिलेगा इसको। तो अब यहाँ पे देखिए 3 लाख रुपए पे तो लग जाएगा 20% की रेट से टैक्स, 3 लाख रुपए पे तो लग जाएगा 20% की रेट से टैक्स, और 60,000 पे लग जाएगा आपके 15% की रेट से टैक्स। Since she is a non-resident, she will not be getting the benefit of the basic exemption limit. Basic exemption limit will not be reduced from the long-term capital gains. The same is eligible only in case of, say, a resident individual. In case of a resident individual, if the other income falls short of what maximum amount not chargeable to tax under section 112, it has been provided, or section under 111(8) also it has also been provided that in case if your other income falls short of what maximum amount not chargeable to tax, then the long-term capital gains, or as a case may be the short-term capital gains, the same will be reduced by such shortfall. But the benefit of the shortfall, the same is not available in case of, say, non-resident. Okay. Therefore, on the LTCG, tax will be levied at rate of 20%. That will be 60,000 rupees. And on STCG, the tax will be levied at under section 111A at rate of 15%. So in 60,000 rupees, tax will be levied at rate of 15%, 9,000. She won't be getting the benefit of any rebate under section 87A also. So it is 69,000 is the tax. Add HEC at rate of 4%. Add HEC at rate of 4%. So 69,000 into 4%, that is 2760. ये ऐड करेंगे तो we will get what? Total tax payable is 71,760. 71,760 is the total tax payable. This is the total tax payable. Okay. So this was the one discussion here relating to one question, that is about the ascertainment of the residential status, and then we are computing the income, and then we are computing what the tax liability. Here this property is in New Delhi, therefore it is taxable. This is shares of Indian company, therefore taxable. This is land situated in India, therefore taxable. Premium paid to LIC, Life Insurance Corporation, the same will be deductible under section 80C, because there is as such no condition that the same must be paid only in India to get the benefit of deduction under section 80C. Okay. Now question number B, that is of 8 marks. They are saying examine whether TDS provisions would be attracted in the following cases. Examine whether TDS provisions would be attracted, and if so, under which section. Also specify the rate of TDS and the amount required to be deducted at tax at source in applicable in each case. Assume all payments are made to, say, residents. So first of all, Mr. Kale is receiving pension from the central government. So he is basically a salaried employee. And contractual payment has been made during April 2020 for reconstruction of his residential house in Arunachal Pradesh. Basically, since he is a salaried employee, 194C is not attracted. But the amount of tax which will be required to be deducted at source, the same will be covered under section 194M. The same will be covered under section what? 194M. Why it will be covered under section 194M? Because he is making the payments on account of contract. It is covered, say, contractual payment which are not covered under 194C, they get covered under 194M, provided the amount which has been paid to the account exceeds rupees what? 50 lakhs, and the rate of TDS is what? 5%. So it exceeds 50 lakh rupees. It exceeds rupees 50 lakhs. So where the amount which has been paid or credited during the financial year exceeds rupees 50 lakhs, under 194M, tax will be deducted at source at rate of 5%. Since the credits have been made or payments have been made during April 2020, therefore the rate of TDS will be what? 5%. Then here, Mr. Rahul is a wholesale trader of spices whose turnover was rupees 5 crores in financial year 1920. And he has made contract payment for construction of office building. He has made contract payment for construction of office building during January to March 21 to Mr. Akhilesh, an individual. So here, since his aggregate turnover exceeds the threshold limit liable for audit under 44AB, therefore he is liable to TDS, make TDS under 194C. And the rate of TDS, actually rate is 1%, but due to COVID, the rate has been reduced to 0.75%. So they are asking for the amount of TDS also. So 52 lakh 50,000 first case I am doing, 52 lakh 50,000 into 5%. That is 2 lakh 62,500. Here, this is office payment has been made for office building has been constructed. Therefore, office go down, etc. The same has been constructed or renovated. It is covered under 194C on 50 lakh rupees since it exceeds 30,000 rupees. Therefore, tax will be deducted at source under 194C at rate of 0.75%. That is 37,500 rupees. This is 37,500 rupees. Then Mr. Golu, an individual carrying on garment trading business with a turnover of rupees 95 lakhs. So not liable for audit. Okay. Now he has made payment of commission to Mr. Vinay for securing a contract for a big business house in November 2020. So not covered under 194H. Not covered under section 194H because he is not individual carrying on, say, garment trading business, and his turnover in the preceding financial year does not exceed the monetary limit specified under 44AB. So it's not covered under 194H. And same will not be covered in 194M also. Same is not covered under 194M as the amount paid or credited does not exceed rupees 50 lakhs. Rupees 50 lakhs. Okay. Next is D part. XYZ Urban Cooperative Bank is there. Payment is made by way of cash withdrawal by ABC and Company, a partnership firm, amounting 1.2 crores during the financial year 2021. Now they have made a cash withdrawal. Okay. So if the cash withdrawals exceeds 1 crore rupees, 194N is attracted. ABC and company has filed his tax returns for last 3 financial years in time. Since they have filed their returns of last 3 financial years in time, therefore the threshold limit will be 1 crore rupees. In excess of 1 crore, whatever amount has been withdrawn in cash, that is 20 lakh rupees, the institute approaches that in excess of 1 crore rupees, the amounts of withdrawn in cash, the same will be liable for tax reduction at source at rate of say 2%. Rate of TDS will be what? 2% in such a case. Okay. So it will be 2% of rupees 20 lakhs. That is 40,000 rupees. Rate of TDS is what? 2%, and amount of tax reduction at source will be 40,000 rupees in such a case. So this was one question which we have discussed that was dealing with the provisions relating to TDS. So TDS provisions, and this is question number 2, which was residential status is A part, and B is dealing with what? TDS provisions. Was a simple question. These types of questions have already been asked in your examination. Now let us discuss one more question. Question number 3A. Mr. Ramesh constructed a big house. He has constructed a big house. Construction is completed in previous year 8-9 with 3 independent units. Unit 1, 50% of the floor area is let out for residential purposes. He is consisting of say 3 independent units. This is a residential house. Unit 1, 50%. Let us make it again. This is the house. 50% is, say, this has been let out. It is let out. And monthly rent is 15,000 rupees. The same has been let out. Monthly rent is 15,000 rupees. A sum of 3,000 could not be realized, could not be collected from the tenant. A notice to vacate the unit was given to the tenant, and no other property of the Ramesh is occupied by the tenant. So you will get a benefit of unrealized rent deduction as per rule 666D. What they say is that tenancy is bona fide. The defaulting tenant has vacated the property. Steps have been taken to compel him to vacate the property, and he is not in occupation of any other property of the SSC. And he has either they have instituted legal proceedings, or they have satisfied the assessing officer that the legal proceedings would be say worthless. So we can get the deduction on account of say unrealized rent. So rule 4 of the income tax rules provide for deduction on account of unrealized rent. Now unit 1 remains vacant for 2 months. Now that has been let out. The same has been given and let out for 10 months. Vacant for 2 months. Vacant for 2 months. Okay. And 3,000 is the amount of unrealized rent. This is unrealized rent to be allowed as deduction. Then they say that unit 2, 25% of the floor area is used by Ramesh for the purpose of his business. Here, let us make this way also. We can use, this is 25% of the floor area. This is used for business. So if a property is used by the SSC for its own business, the income won't be taxed under income from house property. Then unit 3 is utilized for the purpose of his residence. Unit 3 is self-occupied. Self-occupied, this is also 25%. Okay. Now they say that the other particulars of house are as follows. Municipal valuation of the entire house is 188. Fair rent is 248. Standard rent under Rent Control Act is 228. Municipal taxes is 20,000. Repairs, interest on borrowed capital for construction of house, ground rent, insurance premium paid. Business income is without debiting house and other incidental expenses. This has been provided that business income is there. Compute the taxable income. We are required to compute the taxable income of Ramesh for assessment year 21-22 if it does not opt for what? The provisions of 115 BAC. This is of 6 marks. This is house property question. So let us discuss now computation of taxable income. Taxable income. of Mr. Ramesh. Okay. So first one is relating to income from house property. Say unit 1, it is let out. It is let out. It is a let out property. Unit 1 is a let out property. Let us say what is the expected rent. What is expected rent? Here, municipal value is 188 for the entire house. So 50% portion, it is 50% portion. So you have to consider 50% portion. Municipal value 188 for the entire house. So it is 188 divided by 2. That is 94,000. Then what is about the fair rent and standard rent has been provided. Fair rent, standard rent. Fair rent is 248. 50% is 248 into 50%. That is 124. And what is standard rent? Standard rent is, 228. 228 into 50%. So 228 into 50%. 114. So expected rent is municipal value or fair rent, which is higher, subject to maximum of standard rent. So expected rent is what? 1,14,000 rupees. This is the expected rent. Expected rent 1,14,000 rupees. Now we have to see the proportionate expected rent because the property has remained vacant for 2 months. So proportionate expected rent is 114 divided by 12 into 10. This is the proportionate expected rent, that is the rent for the let out period, divided by 12 into 10. That works out to be 95,000 rupees. Now how much actual rent it is? Actual rent receivable, it is 15,000 into 10 minus the unrealized rent of 3,000. That is 1,50,000 minus 3,000. That is 147. So here the gross annual value will be, since ARR exceeds the proportionate expected rent, ARR will be the gross annual value. ARR will be GAV. Will be GAV. So 1,47,000 will be the gross annual value. Less municipal taxes paid. How much municipal taxes have been paid? Let us see. They have said that they have paid municipal taxes of 20,000 rupees. So it is 20,000 into 50%. 50% portion is let out now. So it is 10,000. It is 137. 137 is the net annual value. Less, deduction under section 24. Number 1 is standard deduction, or say we can say statutory deduction. Statutory deduction is 30% of 137. It is 30% of 137 into 30%. 41,100. And number 2 is interest on borrowed capital. Number 2 is interest on borrowed capital. They have provided क्या interest on borrowed capital? बोले yes, interest on borrowed capital is 60,000 rupees. 60,000 into 50%, that is 30,000 rupees. So the income from let out portion will be income from let out portion. Here, how much it will be? 137 minus 41,100 minus 30,000. That is 65,900 rupees. It is 65,009. Then let us go with the self-occupied portion. That is 25%. Annual value is nil, and we get interest on borrowed capital. One deduction, interest on borrowed capital, and that will be allowed subject to this maximum of 30,000. But here how much interest it is? Total interest is 60,000 rupees. The interest 60,000 into 25%, that is 15,000. So self-occupied value will be minus 15,000, and property which is used for business, property used for business, not taxable under this head. Okay, it won't be taxable. Neither the notional rent will be taxable, nor the the deduction will be allowed. So here 50,900 is the income from house property. 50,900 is the income from house property. Now PGBP we are computing. They have said that the income from business is 140. Income from business is 140 before house related expenses, less expenses. All expenses will be allowed in business. So first is about the expenses which we are considering here. Municipal taxes, that will be allowed as deduction on payment basis under 43B. So 20,000 into 25%, that is what, 5,000 rupees. That will be allowed as deduction, municipal taxes. Then next is repairs. Everything will be allowed here. How much repairs? 5,000. Interest on borrowed capital. Interest on borrowed capital, 60,000 rupees. That will also be allowed. Then we are having ground rent, fire insurance premium. Ground rent 6,000. Fire insurance premium. Fire insurance premium 60,000. And then we are having, okay, so these are the expenses. 25% of the same will be allowed here. 15,000, this is ground rent. 25%, 1,500. 60,000, 25%, 15,000. And 5,000, 25%. That is 1,250. So these expenses will be allowed. So the amount will be PGBP income. This is profits and gains of business and profession. So how much profits and gains of business and profession will be? 1,40,000 minus 5,000 minus 1,250 minus 15,000 minus 1,500 minus 15,000. So that works out to be 102,250. If our calculation is correct, you can see it's 102. We can verify the same. So taxable income will be how much? PGBP is 102,250, and IHP is how much? Income from house property is 5,900. So your income works out to be 153, 150. 153, 150. That is basically the taxable income. No housing loan is repaid, na? Nothing has been repaid. Okay. So this is what our one question which we have discussed. Now next question is relating to examine the taxability of capital gains in the following scenarios for the assessment year 21-22 to determine the taxable income, the rate of tax applicable. We are required to determine the taxable income and rate of tax applicable also. On 28th February 21, 10,000 shares of XY Limited, a listed company, are sold by Mr. B at 550 per share, and STT was paid at the time of sale of shares. These shares were acquired by him on 5th April 17, so they are long-term capital asset. Okay. 395 per share paying STT at the time of purchase. 112.8 is covered. Same is covered. On 31st January 2018, the shares of XY Limited were traded in the recognized stock exchange at fair market value of 390 per share. Okay. So this is one question. So we'll be computing the capital gains here. Covered under 112A. So question number, it is 3B. It is 3B. What is the full value of consideration? Full value of consideration is, what is the full value of consideration? They have sold 10,000 shares at rate of 550. 10,000 shares at rate of 550. So basically it is 55 lakhs. This is 55 lakhs. Less cost of action under 111A, 112A, indexation is not, benefit is not available. So cost of action will be what? Actual cost is what? Actual cost is, how much actual cost he has paid? 395 per share. So 10,000 into 395. 10,000 into 395, that is 39 lakh and 50,000. And what is the, this is actual cost, fair market value as on 31/1/2018. 31/1/2018 is FMV is how much? 390. Or sales consideration is how much? Sales consideration is here 550. Whichever is less we have to take. 390 it will be, so it will be 39 lakhs. Cost action will be higher of the two. Actual cost or this amount. You remember it's a say FMV as on 31/1/2018 or the sales consideration, say whichever is lower, and actual cost and that amount which we have worked out, higher of the two will be the actual cost. So it will be 39 lakh and 50,000 is the actual cost. This will be long-term capital gains. How much LTCG it is? 55 lakhs minus 3950. That works out to be 15 lakh 50,000. 15 lakh 50,000. In excess of 1 lakh, 1450 it is. The same will be chargeable to tax at rate of 10%. So it will be 145, and the same will be increased by HEC at rate of 4%. Okay. In excess of 1 lakh, the same is taxable. So 145, 1,45,000 into 4%, 5,800. So tax is how much? Tax is 1,50,800. 150,800. Now next question is what about that will be discussed here. Mr. A is the owner of residential house which was purchased for 9 lakh rupees in September 16. He has sold the house for 19 lakhs. Valuation as per the stamp valuation authority is 45 lakhs. So here, since the same exceeds 10% of the Actual consideration, the same will be considered. And he has invested 19 lakh rupees in NHAI bonds. So what is the full value of consideration? I am doing here only. Full value is 45 lakh rupees less index cost of action, that is 9 lakhs, divided by 16 index is 264 into 301. Okay, so it is 9 lakhs divided by 264 into 301. That is, this is 45 lakhs. And it is 10,26,136. LTCG is how much? This is the LTCG. That is 34 lakhs 73,864. 34 lakhs 73,864. Okay. The same works out to be this way. Then he has invested 19 lakhs on 21st of March 21. So investments are to be made within 6 months from date of transfer for eligibility under 54 EC. So whether the same has been made in 6 months, let us see. October is our first month, November, December, January, February, March. So the time period of 6 months expires on 4th of March itself. So 54 EC will be nil. You won't be getting the benefit of 54 EC. So 34 lakhs 73,864 will be chargeable to tax at rate of 20.8%. In case he is not having any other income, in that particular circumstance, a long-term capital gain will be reduced by such shortfall. And then the balance tax will be, say, calculated. Question number 3 says, Mr. Patel is a proprietor of Star Stores since 2518. He is a proprietor of Star Stores since 2518. He has transferred his shop by way of slum sale for a total consideration of 40 lakh rupees. And the professional fees and brokerage paid for this sale are 80,000. So full value of consideration here is 40 lakh slum sale. Expenses incurred is 80,000 rupees. Okay. Then they say that no individual value of assets is considered in transfer deed. So this is a slum case of a slum sale. And other assets include trademark. These other assets include trademark. 2 lakhs they have been purchased, valuing 2 lakhs as on 1/4/2020, on which depreciation has not been provided. So they are eligible for 25% depreciation. We presume the date of transfer as on, say, 31st of March 21. So for the whole year, depreciation will be provided for the same. Therefore, its value will be what? 1,50,000 rupees, trademarks value, presuming that depreciation is allowed on the same at rate of 25%. Okay. Then furniture 1,50,000 was purchased on which no depreciation was provided. So on 150 furniture, depreciation has not been provided. So here depreciation will be provided at rate of 5%, since the same has been put to use for less than, say, 182 days. How many days are there? Say for November it is 30 minus 4, 26 days for November, December, January, February and March. They have been put for less than 180 days. Okay. So the WDV will be 150 into 5% minus. That is 142,500. Okay. And unsecured loans of 50,000 as advance received from wife, she has agreed to waive. So this is not a liability. Basically the same is not a liability. They are asking for computing the capital gains. So what is the net worth? We have to compute in case of slum sale. Net worth is the cost of acquisition. Net worth of undertaking. And what is net worth? Aggregate value of assets It is aggregate value of assets minus the aggregate value of the liabilities. Minus aggregate value of liabilities. And in case of depreciable assets, we have to take the WDV as per the Income Tax Act. So first is building. They have provided information about the building. It is 5 lakh rupees. Presuming that it's a WDV as per the Income Tax Act. Then relating to furniture, here from 5 lakhs, it has been said that 150 is on which no depreciation has been provided. So 350 and other furniture. 150 we have provided depreciation for half year at say 10% of the block rate, it is 7,500. So it works out to be 142,500. It is 142,500. Okay. Then the next is about the debtors. It will be there. Debtors is debtors. That is 2 lakh rupees is the debtors. 2 lakh rupees the debtors. Then we are having other assets. Other assets. Other than trademark. Other than trademark. That is what? 6 lakhs. Trademark is 2 lakhs on which 25% depreciation is allowed. 2 lakhs on which 25% depreciation is allowed. That is 50,000 rupees. So it works out to be 150. The same works out to be 150. Okay. So it is the aggregate value of the assets. So aggregate value of assets here works out to be how much? 5 lakhs plus 350 plus 142,500 plus 2 lakhs plus 6 lakhs plus 150. Aggregate value of asset is 19 lakh 42,500. It is 1942,500. Then this is what about the other assets we are taking. Less outside liabilities. Less outside liabilities. Bank loan. How much bank loan it is? Bank loan is 5 lakhs. Trade creditors is 250. 250 and unsecured loans which have been outstanding, that is a liability, 150. It is 150. So it becomes 9 lakh rupees. It is 9 lakh rupees. So here the net worth is 10 lakh 42,500. It is 10,42,500 is the net worth. Net worth is 10,42,500. So in this case, the net worth works out to be 10,42,500. Okay. Now, the full value of consideration is 40 lakh rupees less expenses on transfer. They have sold it for 40 lakhs, na? Less expenses on transfer is 80,000. So it is 39 lakh 20,000 less cost of acquisition being the net worth of the undertaking, that is 10,42,500. So this is a short term capital gain as the period of holding does not exceed 3 years. The period of holding does not exceed 3 years, 19, 20 and 21. So it's short term capital gains of how much? If calculation you can verify it, 39,20,000 minus 10, 42, 500. That is 28 lakh 77,500. That is the short term capital gain. So this is the short term capital gain 28,77,500. Now let us discuss one more question. That is question number 4A. Mr. Dharmesh, who is 45 years of age, 45 years old, and his wife Anandi is 42 years, furnishes the following information. Salary income computed of Anandi is 960. Income of minor son, who is suffering from disability under 80U, same will not be clubbed. If any minor son is suffering from disability under 80U, clubbing is not attracted. Income of minor daughter C from script writing for television serial, same will also not be clubbed, as it is from her skill. It is from her skill. Okay. Then income from garment trading business of Mr. Dharmesh. It is a personal income. Cash gift received by minor daughter C of on 2/10/20 from friend of Mrs. Anandi on winning a story writing competition. Same does not exceed 50,000. Therefore, it will be not taxable. It won't be taxable. Income of minor son B from scholarship received from school. Okay. So here there is the income of minor son B, which is from scholarship which has been received from his school. So that is because educational scholarships okay, this is the educational scholarship. So same is exempt under section 1016. It is what? Exempt under 1016. Whatever scholarship is granted to meet the cost of education, the same is exempt. Then income of minor son B. Income of minor son B from fixed deposit with Punjab National Bank made out of income earned from scholarship. That will be clubbed with parent. Okay, whose other income is higher. Whose other income is say higher. So they are asking us to compute the total income of Dharmesh and wife Anandi. So let us see computation of total income of Dharmesh and Anandi. This is Dharmesh. This is Anandi. This is particulars. For each you have to mention the reasoning. So first one is about salary income. Salary income computed of Anandi is 9,60,000, and then income of minor son A, it will not be clubbed. Minor daughter C, it won't be clubbed. Income from garment trading business. Income from garment trading business. For each and every point you have to write reasoning, okay? It is 17,50,000. Okay. Now we come to what each and every point we can write. Say income of minor son A suffering from disability same will not be clubbed. Same will not be say clubbed. It won't be clubbed. Next is the income of minor daughter C. Income of minor daughter C. It will also not be clubbed because of skill. That is our own income. Okay. Then we are having cash gift received by minor daughter C. cash gift, since it does not exceed rupees 50,000, it will not be clubbed. Okay. Then we are having income from minor son B from education scholarships. So education scholarship, it is exempt. Same is exempt under section 1016. Therefore, it will also not be clubbed, and that is also further because of a skill. Then income of minor son B from fixed deposits, that will be clubbed. Income of minor son B from fixed deposits, how much income it is? 5,000 less exemption under 1032, led exemption under section 1032. 1,500 rupees exemption will be provided because they have not opted for 115 BAC. It is clubbed in father because his other income is greater. So the income works out to be how much? 17,53,500. Okay. And here the other one is 960. It is 960. So this was one question which was dealing with the clubbing provisions, which we have discussed here. It was dealing with the clubbing provisions. For each and every, point, you have to write the working notes also. So paper becomes too lengthy when we compare the same. Now next question is for 5 marks. Mr. X, a resident individual, submits the following information for the year ended 31/3/21. Okay. Income from salary computed, it is 2 lakh rupees. Income from house property, 22,000 is this income. 2,60,000 is a loss in Chennai house, and house property in Mumbai there is a loss of 20,000 rupees. So total loss is 22,000 minus 260 minus 20,000. It is 2 lakh and 58,000 is a loss. Okay. The loss is to the extent of what? 2 lakh and 58,000 rupees. The same will be set off. To the extent of rupees, how much? 2 lakhs. Balance loss of rupees 58,000. This loss of 58,000 will be carried forward. You have to write the carried forward amount also, keep in mind. Then textile business, 18,000 rupees is the income. Business loss is this 4,000 rupees loss is here from cosmetic business. Okay, this is 4,000 loss from cosmetic business. Here, this is speculative business loss. 74,000 minus 46,000. So speculative business loss, same will be carried forward. 28,000 rupees loss relating to speculative business, it will be carried forward. It cannot be set off. This loss can be set off. 4,000 loss can be set off. Okay. Then capital gains, we are having short-term capital loss, and capital gains is 15,400 rupees. So the same can be set off, and balance loss will be carried forward. 16,000 minus 15,400, that is 600 rupees. 600 loss will be what? Carried forward. Short-term capital loss. It will be carried forward because loss under the head capital gains cannot be set off from any head of income. Then we are having income from betting, and we are having income from card games. Okay. So loss from the maintenance of resources. Same will be carried forward. Now this is basically taxable at rate of 30%, this income, and no loss can be set off from winnings from lotteries, crossword puzzles, races including horse race, card games, etc. So here the business loss which remain unabsorbed, business loss cannot be set off from salaries. Okay, therefore this will also be say carried forward. So now what is our remaining, say when we compute, it is salary income. Salary income is how much? Salary income is 2,22,000. It is 2,22,000. Loss from HP to the extent of 2 lakh, to the extent of what? 2 lakh, rupees 2 lakh, to be set off from salaries, to be set off from salaries. Okay, this will be set off from salaries. Then we come to PGBP loss. PGBP loss, general business loss. It will also be say carried forward because it cannot be set off from salaries. It will be carried forward, cannot be set off from winnings from lotteries, etc. Okay, so it is 4,000 rupees. The same will be carried forward. House property, how much it has been carried forward? 58,000 carried forward. This is carried forward. And speculation, business loss, that will be carried forward. How much it was to be carried forward here? 74 minus 46, that is 28,000 rupees. We have already worked out everything, just you have to write. Then it is capital gains loss. What is your long-term capital gain? LTCG is 15,400 less STCL. How much it is? 16,000. It is 16,000. So 600 is a loss. STCL to be carried forward. Then we are having winnings from card games and betting. Winnings from card games and betting. Presume the same is to be gross. It's income from betting. It is 34 plus 46, 80,000. It is 80,000. No loss can be set off from these winnings, and loss from maintenance of racehorse. Loss from maintenance of racehorse. Racehorse to be carried forward. Okay. So this will be the GTI. What will be the GTI? GTI will consist of 22,000 and 80,000. 80,000 plus 22,000. That is 1,02,000 rupees. That will be the GTI. And you have to separately write the statement of the losses which will not be carried forward. Okay. This was one question relating to set off and carry forward of loss for 5 marks. Then this is a theoretical question. Enumerate the cases where return of loss has to be filed on or before the due date under 139(1) for carry forward of the losses. So we have seen house property loss and unabsorbed depreciation. The same can be carried forward even if the return of loss is filed late. Return of loss is filed late. Otherwise, all other losses, whether it is 72 loss, then 73 speculation business loss, loss from specified business, loss under the head capital gains, or loss from owning and maintaining resources. The same will be carried forward only when the return of loss can be submitted as per the time on or before the due date of furnishing the return of income. So this was relating to this. A theoretical question was there. Then they are saying in the following cases relating to previous year 2021, the total income of the assessee or the total income of other person in respect of which is assessable under the Income Tax Act does not exceed the basic exemption limit. You are required to state whether the assessee is still required to file the return of income or loss for the assessment year 21-22 in each of the following independent cases. Now, Manish and Sons sold a residential house on which there arose a long-term capital gains for which was invested in capital gains bonds under 54 EC, so that no long-term capital gain was say taxable. So here it has been provided that in case of say individual HUF, AOP, BOI who are getting the benefit of slab structure, if income before allowing exemption under section 54 EC, all 54 sections are covered there. If income before allowing exemption under 54 EC exceeds what? Maximum amount not chargeable to tax. Maximum amount not chargeable to tax. They will be required to furnish the return of income. So in this case, since their income exceeds what maximum amount not chargeable to tax, they will be required to furnish the return of income. Then here again, Archana was born in Germany and married in India. Archana was born in Germany and married in India, and residential status under section 6.6 is resident and ordinarily residents. Now she owns a car in Germany and she uses her for personal purposes during her visit to the parents in place in that country. Okay. So in case, say, if any resident and ordinarily resident is owning any property or is having say owning any asset or say having any financial interest in any entity outside India, he is a beneficial owner or either is a beneficiary, then in that particular circumstance the return will be required to be furnished by that person, even if they are in India they are not required to furnish the return. So she is owning a car in Germany, she is owning a car in Germany. In that particular circumstance she is a beneficial owner of the asset which is say located outside India. In that particular circumstance, return is required to be furnished. Then Sudhakar has incurred an expenditure of 1,20,000 towards the consumption of electricity, the entire payment of which has been made through what the banking channels. Okay, so this is one question. They are asking whether he is required to furnish the return or not. So in case if your expenditure incurred in electricity exceeds rupees 1 lakh, even if the payment has been made through say banking channels, return is what? Required to be furnished. Return is required to be furnished. Okay. So this was about our portion relating to the income tax. Okay. So this is our portion which we have discussed about the income tax, and this is covering when we see this is from the return filing procedure. This is losses set off chapter. Each and every topic has been covered. This is clubbing provisions have been covered here. Then capital gains have been covered. This is also dealing with capital gains. Okay. Then house property has been covered. Except salary, TDS provisions have been covered, and one say NR taxation, residential status, and then taxability of the income as per the residential status. And then this is a comprehensive question which is covering the business income and other aspects. So the entire, this paper has been made lengthy basically. When we do it from the, each and every question, small marks have been allotted. Therefore, in all, the paper is simple, but the paper is say lengthy. GST portion we will be discussing in our next lecture.